folks, it's the Red, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of the Crash games, and today I've decided that I'm going to bring you the Crash Bandicoot series review, where I'm going to go through and analyze every game that's ever been released. Every last game that's been released since 1996. But this is quite a bit of a project that I don't think I'm going to be able to do on my own, so I'm bringing in some guest commentators to help me review this stuff. Everybody, please say hello to Caz and Nick.
Hello.
Hello.
So, are y'all ready to talk some Crash?
Let's get it on.
Full of knowledge.
That is,
Done our
yes, you are
research.
full of knowledge, and that's why I called you here. You're probably the only two people here who are bigger Crash nuts than I am.
I'm proud.
Have the t-shirt to prove it.
She probably does, too.
I do.
She does.
So before we actually start talking about the games, why don't we go ahead and take a little backtrack and look at the character that would later be known as Crash Bandicoot. Nick, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Well, Crash is the brainchild of Jason Rubin and Andy Gavin, who were the original founders of Naughty Dog back when it was just a two-man company. The idea for Crash came to them as they were travelling across America, and they had the idea of doing a platform character action game from the perspective of behind the main character. And they're thinking, how would this look? And they came up with the idea that basically you'd spend a lot of time looking at Sonic's ass, Sonic being the popular counterpoint to the idea that they were looking at the time.
That's a great concept.
It is.
And so they went from the ground up with this idea and came up with the idea of a game based around an animal. Like you had Donkey Kong at the time, you had Sonic, and they wanted to go like with the Tasmanian Devil, pick another sort of small marsupial, and they went originally with the Wombat. So once passing the stage of being the Sonic's ass game, it was originally known as Willy the Wombat.
I can't help but laugh at that name.
And didn't like that game name.
No. And so this stuck for a while. They built basic stuff. This was in the period of 94 to 96, and they carried on. They brought a few more people on board, brought in character artists to build up through concept art the characters which would eventually populate the series. And and so throughout that they built test levels which are all over YouTube, and they built little bits and bobs, and eventually they cobbled together a basic game. And basic's hardly the word for it. They pretty much had to pull the development software for the PlayStation 1 to pieces. They from the ground up built their own tools, they built their own compressors for their files, they pretty much wrote everything they needed by hand.
And with the fewest number of people, too, huh?
Yeah, it was a small team who worked on it.
From what I understood, there was only like a dozen people involved.
Yeah, I think that's about right, yeah.
Crash 1 got into the Guinness Book of World Records for the least amount of people making a game.
Really?
I think it was 10 people at the time, I've read somewhere.
10, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty impressive.
For the time as well.
Definitely.
For the time, and for the kind of game that they're making.
Yeah.
The first of its kind 3D platformer.
Yeah.
Going back to the Sonic Arse thing, having the camera facing that way allowed them to have more detailed levels, so they could have much more polygons.
Yeah, and again, rewriting or pulling apart all the PlayStation 1 software allowed them to get a lot more out of the console. In fact, before release, they had a chap come over from Sony to have a look at the game, and he asked them, because obviously every time a console reads a disc, it performs a little disc check, bits move inside the console. The guy was right, how many actions does this perform in whatever time it was? And basically, Crash Bandicoot 1 ran the PlayStation 1 over capacity because it was that complex for the time. It made more checks than the PlayStation was rated at.
So Crash 1 was actually more complex than the PS1 could handle.
Pretty much. In fact, the development team at Naughty Dog, they built all this such good stuff from the ground up, but other companies at the time were convinced that all the footage that Naughty Dog were putting out was fake because it just looked too good. The fact they got more complex facial animations, more complex level design. And in fact, Sony themselves, a few years after the release of Crash, still on the PlayStation 1, tried to release their own similar game. It was called Harry Jalapeno, and they just couldn't pull it off. So Sony themselves couldn't pull off the quality that what was at the time a third-party developer could do. So it just shows how far ahead of the time they were for what they were doing.
That's very good.
Yeah. Like, so by 1996, it came to release, and they put together this incredibly complex and very well made piece of game.
Quite so. What do you say we go ahead and start reviewing then?
Onwards.
Right, let us start with the first game. The very first game released in 1996, Crash Bandicoot, for the PS1. We're going to divide this into 4 major areas that we're going to look at, and that would be story, graphics, sound, and the most important part of any game, the gameplay. So right, our story.
Crash being created.
The Evolvo Ray.
Yeah, that created Crash and his girlfriend. Crash jumps out a window and then goes back to get his girlfriend.
Spends the whole game running back to Castle Cortex to rescue his girlfriend, right?
Yes.
So, not unlike the Mario games, basically. Basically, we've got Crash, who was created by Cortex using the Evolvo Ray. He's supposed to be the general of his mutant army, which he's going to use to take over the world. Because every mad scientist wants to do that.
Hey, you don't have to be mad to want to do that.
But apparently this is an experiment that would go horribly wrong, and to be qualified for Cortex's anthropomorphic army, you'd either need to be bulging with muscle or completely insane. Or have a love for guns.
Isn't Crash insane? The pictures make him out to be insane with his tongue sticking out and his crossed eyes.
Yeah, but I don't think he
Well,
quite
it
had that
weekend.
yet in Crash 1. I mean, it says on the back of the box that his brain's been scrambled, but maybe that's why he could do his signature spin attack in this game. Right, I think we already pretty well covered how the graphics were of this game. They were ahead of its time.
That the notable guy for this was Caz and Nick. He was brought on in the early days by Ruben and Gavin, and he is a sketch artist himself he was able to, they'd say, okay, we want a guy who's an evil genius, and just Nick would go away, come back 5 minutes later with eight new sketches, and the character development went quite quickly in that regards, because he was just churning out to their ideas, and it was a very rapid process relatively to get the characters that we know now.
Yeah, so basically the gameplay is you going across the island, trying to get to Cortex's castle to rescue him, or flying away on the Eagle.
Some of the stage design is pretty impressive too. I always love the running away from the rock levels.
Yeah, where they invert the camera back to the front.
Yeah, and the camera angles are very good too.
And again, for the time, things like dynamic cameras, just one thing, like going up the ramps in levels like Upstream, where the camera then pans upwards slightly, things like that were very advanced for the time. You didn't mess around with your camera, you could just get static and you ran sideways or you ran forwards. It was very much, this was very dynamic. If I could chip in about one of the major gameplay elements, which people sort of take for granted, is the crates in the game. Because originally, the levels were designed without the crate. It was just a jumping puzzle, and during the development, they thought this was just too simplistic, and so they added in the boxes, and they had like the jump boxes, the life boxes, the question mark boxes, and checkpoints. And it was actually the crashes breaking all these boxes, smashing them up, which got the name changed from Willy the Wombat to Crash Bandicoot. It was the crash bit that came from the breaking of the boxes.
Crashing crates!
Yep, that's how Crash got his name.
So, as you are traveling across all these islands, you also have another objective that you need to do, and that is to collect all of the gems. And this game had a pretty difficult way of doing that. You not only had to break every box in the game, but you also had to complete the level in one life, start to finish.
I think anyone who has tried this will particularly remember Slippery Climb if they're anything like me, because that level, one life, all the boxes, is not a nice thing to have to do.
Well, the nice touch that I like about it is that if you do complete the level, but you didn't break all the boxes, you will be greeted by getting smashed in the head for every box that you missed.
Yeah.
Or you can have Crash do a little dance and a spin.
And make
collect all the gems, and then you get the good end.
This
is how it's going to work for pretty much every subsequent game.
Yeah, you had the colour gems, which were like the special ones, which were there, and they didn't lead you to special levels. They led you sort of extra bits within the levels, didn't they?
Yeah, to extra boxes. So you needed to get the colour gems before you could get the whole boxes, which made you running around a lot until you found this out.
Yeah.
So many times I got like halfway through the level and then noticed that you needed the coloured gem to collect the rest of the boxes.
Yeah.
And then it's just a pause and exit back to the menu with a sad face.
Yeah, and
the
you're
rewards
never
for
really
having
sure where you're going to find these colored gems either.
The rewards for having them were pretty high in such a case of, was it Castle Machinery, I think, where if you have the green gem, you can instantly get to the end of the level and get about 30 lives in the process.
I love that level.
Always a good
Yeah, that's how
start.
I refill all my lives before I begin
Yes.
playing.
Because another thing worthy of note, the game doesn't remember in your save file how many lives you have.
So you
So
always
always
restart with 4.
And back then, it was all about the cheats and the super passwords.
Triangle, 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 left square, circle, blah, 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 blah.
Ah,
For about
Always
3
starts
lives.
with triangle, triangle. So on the topic of passwords, perhaps it's worth noting just how you save in Crash 1. You can do so in one of 2 ways. You can either go into one of the levels that you haven't visited yet, collect all 3 Tawna icons, and then complete its bonus stage, all without dying.
I have to note that those bonus stages were bloody hard as well.
Well, the Tawna
Especially-
stages weren't so hard. It was Brios and Cortexes that were unbearable.
Timing your jumps through Nitro and TNT sections was always awkward.
And
But
you
yeah.
only got one shot at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you should fail the bonus stage, then you're just gonna have to keep playing until you get to another stage with Tawna icons before you get another chance to. And guess what? The bonus stages are only gonna get harder from here. The other way to save in this game is to collect gems, which, as I already covered, are freaking hard to get because you have to break all the boxes and get through in 1 life. It shouldn't be such a challenge just to save my game. Can y'all agree?
Yeah, and lose all any lives that you might have got on your
Also,
reboots.
I have to say, why does Crash have to go to Cortex Castle when his girlfriend is at the end of each bonus level?
Because she
seems
gets
like he was sent
away
on a long
just as he
walk.
arrives in the bonus stages.
Yes, he could have saved her on the second level.
Then he wouldn't get to do his big hero quest to prove his worth.
Because that's what this is all really about.
Yeah, it's not actually a plan to take down Cortex at all, it's actually just Crash proving his love.
On the topic of bonus stages, though, it should be noted that this is how you obtain the 2 keys in the game to unlock a couple of bonus levels.
One of which is another hot riding level, so it's incredibly worth doing.
Yes, you have to complete the 2 Cortex bonus stages in order to get a key, and guess what? They're even harder than the Tawna stages.
Oh, even getting the 3 Cortex tokens in one life, or one level, is awkward, to say the least.
At least this time you get multiple attempts because you can just go back to the stage, collect all the icons, and then try again. With Tawna, you get 1 shot.
And if I remember rightly, it was the second temple level. There's always a really tricky one to get all the Cortex tokens on.
Okay, last thing we're gonna look at in Crash 1 is the sound. How's the music? How's the sound effects? Pretty memorable?
Very.
Yeah, I think
I have
everyone
to.
who...
I
Sorry,
have to
after-
admit, I have Hog Wild on my playlist on iTunes because the music's very memorable.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love Hog Wild.
anyone who's played that game will know what we're talking about straight away here.
I don't know, I think my favorite theme from this game might be the early Cortex stages.
And Insanity Beach is a classic as well.
And
The
Sandy
title
Beach.
screen music
Yeah.
with that weird way it
Even though you
showed
hear it
the
throughout the game and it starts to wear on you.
where it showed the weird naughty dog thing,
Yeah, it slides in from the side. And
the doghouse.
Yeah.
Where Crash does that scream thing that used to scare my little brother. He did not like
Up to the front of the screen.
yeah, when the logo comes in.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead
Well,
and
that's
score this thing. 1 out of 10. What do you give it to Crash 1? Because for me, it was a pretty groundbreaking game. It's got a lot of fun gameplay elements to it. Overall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
I'd have to agree with you there. It's a great game and all, but it still has
It's
a
freaking
couple of...
hard to get all those
Yeah.
gems.
Yeah.
It still needed some things sorting out. I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10.
So what's your score, Nick?
I think this game sticks in my head as being one of my favourite games ever. I mean, it sits up there next to like Metal Gear Solid 3 and other massive favourites of mine. And I for that, I think I'd probably put it up to about a 9 for me, just for nostalgia value and for being the first true proper game I played.
Hey, that's fair enough, because there's another game I would feel that way about it. So 9 out of 10 for Nick. And here we're going to piece together everybody's score to get a final. So Crash 1 turned out to be a smashing success.
It was the first game I got on my PlayStation 1, and it's still one of my favourites.
Yep, same with me.
This was among the first games I had, the other one being Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, and this one caught on to me more. Alright, let's move on to Crash 2. My personal favourite in the series, released in 1997, again for the PS1, and was also responsible for bringing us this very creepy advertisement.
Hi, I'm Crash Bandicoot, the super marsupial, the wonder from down under, the rocket with a pocket.
If I did see this at the time, I'd probably be put off of Crash. Crash 2 took everything that Crash 1 did and just made it better. That's why I love this game so much. You have more moves, you have wider levels, you have more levels, new enemies, new tactics, new everything.
But the same old Crash.
And even some old baddies are back for another round, like Ripperoo and Embryo. And even some new ones, like the Komodo brothers and Tiny the Tiger.
I think what particularly stood out for me in Crash 2 was, as you said, just how they massively broadened the amount of levels available. I mean, Crash 1 was exactly sparse in levels, but Crash 2 really sort of pulled in a whole load of new environments.
They also gave Crash more personality by giving him Coco.
Yes, this game is the debuting appearance of Coco, Crash's sister.
Sending
Crash out to go and get her a new battery because she didn't remember to recharge before she went out into the middle of the jungle.
Couldn't be bothered to get it herself.
But as Crash is making his trip back home, he is warped over to this mysterious ancient warp room where he is confronted by a head of Cortex. Who is then telling him that the world is in danger and now he wants to help Crash save it. Because we can totally trust mad scientists. Especially ones that tried to kill me. He instructs Crash that he needs to collect 25 crystals and bring them to him in space.
Crystals being the new collectible item for this game.
Crystals to power the cannon?
Yeah.
Crystals are going to be used to power the cannon that will save the world.
What was it saving the world from?
Was it? I seem to remember something about planets aligning and bad things happening because of that. Or so Cortex said.
Isn't the power laser that Cortex says that he's going to use to destroy? He's going to use the crystals to destroy
Cortex to stop whatever is threatening the world.
Yeah, he says he's going to power a laser, which actually Brio powers with the gems.
Yeah.
He says that he's going to power it with crystals to destroy the thingy, but really Cortex wants those crystals to power the Cortex Vortex.
Which he is then going to use to do what? Destroy the world?
Enslave the world? Enslave the world, not destroy.
So let's talk about the music for a little bit, because I found this soundtrack to be even better than the first game. There's a lot more memorable tunes from this game. Turtle Woods for one.
Yep.
Hang 8.
Yeah. Any of the pogo riding levels?
My favourite.
Yeah.
And again, I like the Cortex levels for some reason, like Piston It Later.
The songs that always stick into my head are always the title screen songs. With Crash on his jetpack, where he gets smacked in the face with a Lego.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that collecting gems in this game is a lot less of a pain, because now you don't need to do it in one life, and you're given a box counter to let you know how many you've broken so far.
Yes.
But most of the levels made you go back and forth.
Yeah, there's a lot of backtracking into the screen.
Getting skull and crossbone platforms.
Yes.
Those you do need to get to in one life.
Yes. It made you do a lot of backtracking.
Also very notable was the introduction of the Nitro crate.
Ah yes, the infamous explode as soon as you touch it crate.
With the didgeridoo.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Which I don't get why he had a didgeridoo.
He's the Bandicoot.
Break these things, you usually had to break it.
Play didgeridoo. I don't know.
Break one of these things, you would have to go to a green exclamation block at the end of the level, which sets them all off at once.
No, they also counted towards boxes.
Yeah.
And yes, the nitro crates did count towards boxes, so you have to break those too. So overall, like I said, this is my favorite game in the series, so it should come as no surprise that I give this game a 10 out of 10. It hits every note right. This is how you do a good sequel.
Oh, thank you very much, thank you very much.
Well, I'll buck the trend slightly. I admit it's still a fantastic game, but I think because I didn't actually play it until after Crash 3, I'm not. I prefer the other three slightly more to 2, but 2 still being fantastic, I will give it an 8.
And how about you, Caz?
This one was one of my favourites. Like I say, it was a lot better than the first one, so I give it a 9.
So that's 2 great games that we've got now. And it's only going to get better from here as we move on to Crash 3, or Crash Warped. Actually, was it ever known as Crash 3 anywhere, other than Japan?
It was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. You have
Yeah.
Uga Uga explaining that to you on the title screen.
Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Yeah, it is pretty much accepted as Crash 3, but the technical name is Crash Bandicoot Warped. So what does this game do differently?
There's a lot more things you can ride.
There are.
There's
motorbikes.
Yes, this
Right.
game does introduce a
Jet
lot
ski.
more riding element to this. Be it
Well,
planes or dinosaurs or scuba diving. There's a lot more of
Airplanes.
it in this game.
Well, it breaks up the gameplay nicely. Of course, people like running around, but this also adds a level of extra to it.
Yeah, I rather liked the platforming aspect of Crash Bandicoot. So the addition of all these riding things, it kind of feels like it's 50% riding and 50% platforming.
Yeah.
The
And as a
riding's the
fan of
best part.
platforming, that kind of put me off a little bit, but I kind of wish there was more platforming in this game, basically.
They had with Baby T, the dinosaur. That was like half and half. You ride it
Yeah.
and you did platforming.
Right. But I mean, for a game like this, you gotta have more platforming, because after all, this was the game that introduced new powers after you beat bosses, and you don't get that many opportunities to give them a try.
Like the Wampa gun,
Yeah.
Wampa Gun, the Death Tornado Spin.
the super spinny belly flop.
Yeah.
This game also introduced Crash's running to get the relics for the time
Yeah.
trials.
Time trial mode.
Time trial mode is brought in.
Yes.
And breaking all the boxes has been made even simpler, because now you can see right from as you begin the level how many boxes are in the level,
Yes,
so you know if you're missing any or not, before you even reach the goal.
And whilst we're on the topic of relics were so you complete a level at a certain time, you get different categories. You get like bronze, silver, platinum, silver, gold, and platinum.
To open up a new area to get more gems.
Yeah. So it's after 5 you unlock the secret warp room, and then every 5 after that, up until 25, I think.
Yes.
So you unlocked a new level every 5 relics you collected.
Right, I don't think we ever talked about the story. So, from the previous game, when Vortex has been destroyed by Brio, it comes crashing down into a mountain, which just happens to be where Uka Uka was. Another new character.
Which is Akuraku's brother.
Yes,
Aku being someone we probably should have mentioned up to this point. Uka Uka being Aku's brother, Aku being the floating mask which follows Crash around and acts as an additional health indicator.
so Uka Uka, being a little upset at Cortex for having not been able to take over the world, is going to give him another chance, but this time under the supervision of another new character, Entropy,
The time-controlling guy.
who controls time, yes, and that is going to be the theme of this game. It's that Crash is going to go time traveling to collect all the crystals.
So you visit places like ancient Egypt and
Medieval.
60s America for the road, the motorbike levels.
The
And even into
future.
the future.
The future, yes.
Futurama Land.
And yeah, underwater. The underwater levels were another new addition, new mechanic.
I hated those eels and sharks.
I always hated the swirly water tornado thing.
I never
Find your way
understood
across
why
on
you
a little
couldn't use the
submarine.
Death Tornado Spin underwater, though.
Yeah, you had to tap X to get through the fast enough for relics.
Talking about Crash's deaths, Crash had a
There were a lot more humorous deaths to be
Yes.
found in this game. There were
Yeah.
a lot in the first 2, well, especially the second one, but this one just puts even more.
Went all out.
You might actually find yourself killing yourself on purpose just so you could see them all.
Crash's
Yeah.
swelling up face when he gets stung by a bee is my personal favourite thing ever.
Yeah.
Of course, that was in the second game, but
Even though you did feel sorry for him when he was being eaten alive and squashed.
Oh, so pretty much any way you can think of that Crash could go, he probably went.
and just like in the last game, the music in this game is very memorable. I especially like all the different remixes in the bonus rooms.
Yeah.
And of course I like the music in the medieval levels.
Yeah, I always remember the medieval one.
The Egyptian ones were quite good too. That and Futurama.
Yeah, the Egyptian ones were definitely my favourite levels of that game.
Mine has to be Coco and Pura.
Oh,
The
of course,
chat
yeah.
across the Great Wall of China.
Yeah, I remember being incredibly surprised finding out you could hold circle to make it run really fast.
So overall, I was quite pleased with this game. It brought a lot to the table. The only gripe I have with it, there should have been more platforming. For that, I give this game a 9 out of 10.
As I said before, this is my favourite one of the series. I love it to bits. I think, for me, I'm loving the platforming, but the addition of all the new mechanics, I found the balance throughout the whole game to be really good, and for that I give it a 10.
See, I like Crash 2 for the same reason. That's a game I can play over and over again and I'll never get tired.
Yeah, and consistently do.
Yes. I give this game... I'm indecisive now. I think I give it a 9, the same as Crash 2.
Very good then. So after a trilogy of hit platformer games, Naughty Dog decided it was time to bring Crash to the kart racing...
Table.
Yes, to the
Track.
kart racing table. Alright, enter CTR. Released in
A very bold
1999,
move.
still for the PS1.
Yeah.
A
This
very
was
bold move from
Crash's
Tom.
answer to Mario Kart. So how does he stack up?
It is 100 times better than Mario
It is.
Kart.
It is a fantastic
I might be
little
inclined
kart
to agree
racer.
with you.
It's like Mario Kart in no way, well, in most ways being excellent, I'll say, not in no way being bad, but Crash Team Racing really shone as a fantastic racer and above the rest of the field.
It pretty much does everything that Mario Kart should have done. There's more variety in the way you can race, there's more raceable characters, the controls are better, there's a wider variety of weapons, and you can customize the number of laps you race for. Mario Kart has not had that in, like, forever. 3 laps, that's it.
A good range of weapons and upgradable weapons.
There
Upgradable
was
weapons
battles.
like 10 Wampas.
The versus mode, as I said, was really fantastic. I still play with 3 uni housemates pretty regularly. It's sort of a once a week thing still. And it had a really good single player and a really good multiplayer.
Yes. Like the Sonic series, every Crash game has to have a story, including the spin-offs, and this is no exception to that. And here the story is that there's a space alien named Nitrous Oxide who wants to take over the world by turning the whole planet into a concrete parking lot.
I mean, who does not dream of that?
And make everyone into his slaves.
There's not
I thought that was
a lot to
Cortez's
slave them
job.
over if the whole world is a concrete parking lot. Be better off to just
I don't think-
destroy the planet.
Yeah, it wasn't. You didn't plan ahead with that one massively.
So he challenges everyone to a race-off.
And then the winning character faces off against him in space.
On a rather cool track.
I remember the story to this, where after he challenges everyone, you see everyone preparing their carts in their own ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a
Cortex.
very cool touch.
Where like Dingo Dow gets blown in the face with, and Tiny smashes his all with a hammer.
Yeah.
Or Coco loading cheats from GameFAQs into her car.
They were really
So it's a
cool.
very fun game to play by yourself, and it's just better when you're playing with multiple players. 3 or 4, you will need a multi-tap to do this, but trust me, it's worth it.
Especially when you own them all every single time.
Yeah. Look, minor thing to note that it still does have the same issues that Mario Kart did if you're doing 4-person races, and that the person at the back will constantly get blue shells. Or the
Warped
awful
in this
things.
game.
Yeah. But that's my only gripe with this one, really, that the multiplayer weapon system is still not fantastically balanced.
So overall, like I said, I like this game more than Mario Kart 64. There might be some modern Mario Karts that I would take before this, but for its time, considering its competitors were Mario Kart 64, Diddy Kong Racing, and Sonic R, I guess, I would put CTR at the top. And this game I will give a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the same boat as you there, Red. It's a fantastic little racer. It's still entertaining to this day, and it's got all the, despite being a kart racer, massively different from a platformer, it's still got all the charm that the original Crash has had, and for that I will also give it a 9.
I can remember many a night playing this with my parents.
I used to play this with my friends all the time. We loved it.
Yeah, this was the first game that actually my mum would play and like take the controllers off us because we were spending too long, take the game off us because she wanted to play. So there's a lot of childhood memories from this game, so I'll give it also a 9 out of 10. And it's also my favourite racing game of all time, easily.
This is the one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 27 overall. That's very good. It's a very good game, so it deserves it.
Indeed, it does.
So after 3 awesome platformers and a kart racer to rival Mario Kart, it seems like Crash is just going to be an unstoppable force who's going to rise to the top. You'd think that anyway. But no, at this point, Naughty Dog decided, yeah, we're not going to make any more. Let's go make some Jak and Daxter.
Which are equally good games, but they're not Crash.
They're not Crash.
No, this was a sad, sad time indeed.
But that's not going to stop the Crash franchise from going on anyway. Enter Irocom, a British game developer, and in 2000 they would be coming out with Crash Bash, the last PlayStation 1 game.
Crash Bash being notably different as a sort of a party game of
I guess this is the game that's trying to be like Mario Party.
Yeah.
Except without the board game. So, like with CTR, this too has a story to it. Aku Aku and Uka Uka are tired of bickering with each other and they want to determine who's the best of all. So they summon 8 people from the world to do battle with each other.
Now, I'm not entirely sure how this was in doubt to begin with, having Uka Uka and Cortex having been beaten several times.
Yeah, I think it's already been pretty well decided, so this whole tournament seems like a dumb idea.
The people I have to feel sorry for is Tiny and Dingodile. They are evil people, but yet they're fighting for the side of good.
Yeah, they were brought over to the side of good because the teams were unbalanced.
Yeah.
That's like having a
that's not the evil side's problem that there's not enough good guys.
They could have brought in Pura, Pole and Baby T to be on the good side.
Maybe.
But,
heck, how about bringing back Tawna?
Exactly. Well,
nope, only 2 heroes in the entire universe. So that's our simple story. What do we think about the gameplay?
Right. Obviously, it's another change. It's a change of genre, so you lose all the platforming pretty much from this one. But at the same time, you do gain
to be found here. Instead, we have just a series of mini games that you'll play up to 3 rounds for. Such games as Ballistic, where you're using a little hover ship to knock balls towards your opponent's goals.
Pogo Go Go.
Where you're just trying to color squares by pogoing onto them.
Yep.
Jumping on a pogo stick and landing on a space to make it your color.
Pushing people off ice using polar bears.
And my personal favorite is the ones where you're fighting each other and you're throwing crates at each other. I rather like that game, even though I'm not that good with Crash. Crash is my character of choice for each of these games, by the way.
Mine is Coco, obviously.
I'm Crash unless Pinstripe is available.
Fun fact that this is the only game that we ever see Coco doing the spin attack like Crash does.
Yeah.
I guess she hadn't developed her own moveset yet, but that wouldn't be until later anyway. Also, why does it seem like the announcer in this game sounds so serious business?
A Universal Interactive Studios production. Crash Bash! Carl wins. You fail.
Chill, dude. It's a party game, not Mortal Kombat.
Crash wins.
Fatality.
Also, after you've beaten like all the games in the area, you had boss battles, which brought back the old bosses from the other 3 games.
Yeah, like Papu Papu and Ripperoo.
Papu Papu's a favourite.
Ripperoo, they were also in the backgrounds of levels.
Yeah. Yeah, they come through and interfere with it at times, like the engine ballistics level.
He was a pain in the bum in that level.
He really was, wasn't he?
Especially when he aimed at just your goal.
It always seemed to be that way. And you had to really hope that you got a force field at the right time.
Also, it's the same as Crash Team Racing. Cortex is a playable character, so they need to bring in another evil boss baddie guy that you need to beat right at the end.
Yeah.
And in this case, Nitrous Oxide was back.
I guess he's on his way back to the planet after having failed in CTR.
Yeah. Then he
But
comes
Crash
back
and
and
Reds are like, nope, you're going down again. So
Also felt
overall,
that
the
this-
mini games are pretty fun, but unless you're playing with friends, it's going to be a pretty short-lived game.
I also felt it had a bit more of a difficulty spike than the other games.
Yeah, a little bit.
I noticed around the intrusion. Sorry. I noticed this sort of around the inclusion of the medieval levels that the difficulty level started to spike up a bit, and also the tanks level. I always seem to struggle with those.
Oh, those bloody tank levels where he just ends up rolling around in circles because I cannot control the goddamn thing.
Just spam the ground mines and run and hide was my technique.
Yeah, it's a great game to play in multiplayer, but if you're playing by yourself, there's only so much fun you can have playing against a bunch of computers. So you really need to get that multi-tap if you're planning to get this game, and have a few people to play it with.
Oh, it plays with 2-player.
It does, yeah.
2-player is pretty good, and it's really good that you could play through the story mode as co-op.
Yeah, that was pretty new for the time. Also, just notable, if you're playing them on the PS3, there are some weird controller settings you have to get for the multiplayer.
So overall, not a bad game. It's a little better than good. I mean, you really need to have friends to truly appreciate what it is. Overall, I'll probably give the game a 7 out of 10. It was good, I just think they could have done a little more with it.
I would give this game about 7. It weren't true to Crash gameplay, but I still had a lot of fun nights playing it with my younger brother.
Yeah, my memories of this game are positive, but I could see how if you're playing this by yourself, it might not be the same experience.
No, it's much funner shouting at someone else for letting balls go in your goal to kill
Rather
you.
than yelling at the stupid computers who are cheating you out of your win.
Yeah.
So what say you, Nick, for Crash Bash?
I'm going to stick with the same score as you guys. I'm also going to give it a 7. I think it was a great game to play with friends. It was all right by itself. For a limited time, you got your enjoyment out of it. Yeah, so a 7 from me.
Very good then, and that covers the entire PS1 era of Crash games. And we're going to cut it off here and make this a multi-part review. And next time we're going to cover the Traveler's Tales / Vicarious Visions era. And I shall see you then.